Disclaimer: by making and uploading this video, I am not promoting piracy. Piracy is a crime and it's illegal. If you get caught pirating stuff, then you can end up getting a lot of copyrights from the owner, or in some situations, you can end up in jail. So do it at your own risk. Actually, don't do it at all. Support the developers. Piracy. It is a way to distribute copyrighted music, movies, or video games without the permission of the owner. Or in simple words, you get stuff for free. Music, movies, games, softwares, TV shows, everything for free. Now, if there is something available for free, then people would rush to get it. Like yesterday's incident, Epic Games made GT 5 free for 1 week, and as soon as the game was available to redeem for free, everyone rushed to get it and the Epic servers crashed. Anyways, I was talking about piracy. Piracy is illegal in almost every country because you get stuff for free while not paying for it. And if you get caught while pirating anything, you can end up getting hefty fines or even get sued by the company or imprisonment if you are trying to sell those pirated copies. In some countries, it's a free real estate. You can download whatever you want, they don't give a damn. But some countries are so strict that you'll need a mastermind like El Professor to avoid getting detected by your internet service provider to download something for free. Hey guys, it's UV here and welcome back to Rogue Gamer UV. In this video, I will be talking about cracked game versus original game. So let's start this video. Cracking games and pirating them. Both are illegal. But what is a crack of a video game? A crack of a video game is a modification of the executable file or some DLL files. If you purchased a game, then it would connect with the publisher to tell them that you bought the game and they will allow you to play it. However, if the game is not purchased, the DRM inside the game codes will detect it and it won't allow you to play. Now when you install a crack, it will disable that DRM and you will be able to play it for free. When you crack a game, there are several advantages and several disadvantages of it. The first advantage is cost. Cracked games are absolutely free, while for original games, you have to pay for it. Now since cracks are free, it would attract people who can't afford the game. Due to this, companies can face a loss in their sales of the video game. Now if you're trying to buy a game and see that you can get it for free, then of course you will try and get the free version because you get the game for free and you save your money. The second advantage is performance. When you launch a purchased game, the DRM is also activated. This DRM will run in background and use your CPU to make sure that the game is original. This will affect your gameplay as you lose some FPS. However, in cracked games, the DRM is either disabled or completely removed. When running a pirated game, the DRM is not going to be running in the background and your performance is not going to be affected. The third advantage is to run without any errors. When you start a cracked game, it will run like a normal application without any problem. But when you run an original game, the game can sometimes face several errors like the launcher unexpectedly closed, or you are not connected to internet, or the launcher is not working, or sometimes if the DRM is not able to start, then random errors will occur. If you play an improperly cracked game, then you will definitely run into errors. Now let's move on to the disadvantages. The first disadvantage is online access. This is the biggest disadvantage of playing cracked games. In a cracked game, you cannot play multiplayer because the crack will prevent the game from accessing the internet for online verification. You can't play with your friends and you can't even contact customer support if your game is not running. The second disadvantage is updates. When someone cracks a game and a new update is released for that game, there is a very less chance of that update getting cracked. Because of this, the pirated gamer can't play the updated version of the game. Sometimes when a new update introduces some DLCs or new features, then the patch or the whole updated version of the game is cracked again. But regular updates have less chance of getting cracked. The third disadvantage is risk. Pirating copyrighted games are illegal. If you are caught pirating games, then you can lose your internet connection or get copyright from owner and possibly end up in jail if you sell it. Usually in India, pirating is allowed. But in developed countries, if you keep downloading pirated stuff, then you can receive a letter from your internet service provider. So that's it guys. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video then leave a like. Let's aim for 20 likes on this video. Check out my other videos on this channel, and if you're new here then subscribe to my channel. I will start posting gaming content when I reach 100 subscribers. Social media links are in description. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and now I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, stay safe and goodbye.